So for sure he would have gone back to God, we may think. But he didn't. And Prabhupada said, we will continue this next time. So yeah, it's just not so easy. Not so easy. Yeah. There's a lot of things we have to dissolve and work through, and this makes it also clear. It's good to always try and clear the atmosphere as quickly as possible in all kinds of relationship matters, that we don't allow them to build up and we keep these grudges for 20 years. You imagine, if you leave your body and you have all these grudges towards people, you're not going to be able to enter Goloka Vrindavan with this luggage. No chance. So good to really make an effort to clear up things, not letting them hang in the air there and build up, but immediately address things, apologize, smooth things over, and move on. But if we cannot forgive and let go, when we want to board the plane back to Godhead, luggage allowance is 0. So next week I'm flying to Copenhagen, 23 kilos check-in luggage, 8 kilos hand luggage. That's on such a flight, only to Copenhagen. But back to Godhead, no check-in, no hand luggage, 0. We have to leave everything behind. We have to dissolve all these subtle things. Because subtle body, we have been carrying that with us for so many lifetimes. So many lifetimes. And there's so much information stored. My goodness. It's like a computer chip with so much information, so many impressions, so many experiences, desires, fears, traumas. People often nowadays come from very dysfunctional families, background, and they have all kinds of traumas. We have to work through them. We have to digest them and let go. And otherwise, how can we go back to God with this luggage? No, not possible. The subtle body will force us to take birth again and continue. And this work of dissolving things. So it makes it clear how Krishna consciousness is such a deep and internal practice, actually. And we can see Krishna consciousness completely targets the subtle body, actually. Right? That's why Krishna always says, remember me, never forget me, focus, think of me, and. So these instructions are all meant to transform the subtle body. It completely targets the subtle body. But we have to take it seriously, not avoid all of that, just, more in an external way, go through the motions externally, but internally there's no deeper participation there.
A thought I had when you were telling this, that the desire, the attachment, or the deep, what is the opposite of
aversion?
The aversion, this is also forming the next body. I was thinking that the other way around, if we develop this attachment to Krishna, it's that the inhabitants of Vaikuntha or Goloka, that they have same bodily features as Lord Krishna. Is that comparable with that thought? That if we increase our attachment to Krishna, that this is the reason why those in the Vaikuntha planets have the same bodily feature, because of their attachment to Krishna?
Well, yes. And no, but definitely as we become purified, Krishna actually allows us to understand what our eternal relationship is with Him. Yeah. So in that meditation, we keep that very private and secret. We don't talk about this, not to anybody. But that is revealed as we are really becoming more and more established in dasya, in being servant. Because dasya sets the foundation to all other relationships, right? Like Sakhya, friendship, is dasya plus friendship. Vatsalya, parental love, is dasya plus Sakhya plus Vatsalya. Madhurya is dasya plus Sakhya plus Vatsalya plus Madhurya. So dasya sets the foundation to everything. So as we are firmly established in dasya, and as all the subtle, tendencies of controlling, enjoying, and as they are purified and scrubbed from the heart, then Krishna will reveal if there's anything more than dasya. So good to know we don't have to make some separate effort here of trying to find out, and go to some Radhakund Babaji and all this. No need. It's all there. It's all actually coming through the chanting of the name. So then somehow Krishna will give us our eternal body. And those who go to Vaikuntha, they are more, attracted to that own reverence and, so then they end up there. Yes?
So far it seems like there's a lot of emphasis on us having to deal with all these things, work on ourselves, and definitely, so that's a big focus. And then, but I wonder where is kind of the mercy aspect, because it seems, that it's anyway impossible to deal with all of this. Like, we speak about this just in psychology, right? Yeah, psychology is good because it helps us to deal with traumas, but then there's endless trauma that we can never kind of resolve. So, what's the balance there? How would you say we deal with it?
Well, I would say that there is some anatas where we do have to make some effort. That we have to introspect and reflect and catch ourselves doing what we shouldn't do. I described this in the False Ego book. I like to see false ego like Hiranyakashipu, is false ego envy personified. So we have to detect, because we are so trapped in these false ego patterns of behaviors, and we slide back there. And as long as we are trapped there, we can't really get the mercy of the holy name, because that's why we chant Trinada Pisunichana every morning here. We can actually only chant the holy name if you're more humble than a blade of grass, more tolerant than a tree. So that means false ego has to be dissolved and subdued, and we have to make an effort. And the main thing is ultimately not that we get so, into the whole psychology, but no, we have to cry out to Lord Nrsimhadev, because he is the one who performs the heart surgery and draws out Hiranyakashipu. And Lord Nrsimhadev is the one who helps us to prepare our heart to actually approach Radha Krishna. Satchidananda Swami often explains that when he comes to Simhachalam for Nrsimha Chaturdashi, I heard him there saying this. So it's a very nice understanding to have that, yes, we first have to beg Lord Nrsimhadev to enter our heart and remove a few things there. And he responds according to our serious begging. But if we don't beg, then we perform the 10th offense. We maintain material attachments even after understanding so many instructions on this matter, namely the subtle attachment to false ego gratification. It's a whole big topic, so subtle. And yeah, we have to do this internal work, of reflecting, introspecting, catching ourselves and praying out to the machinery. So yeah, I have been doing this myself, and I gradually see that some little changes are happening, but it really requires constant introspection, being conscious and aware and observing and But yes, ultimately there may be some things which we are still not having dissolved, and then if we are lucky, there is also, of course, there's mercy there, but we can't rely on this. We can't say, oh yes, of course there's mercy, it's always there, and now. I mean, I have heard that, there's one life in Namaparat, chanting Namaparat with offenses, chanting offensive, how do you say? Offensively, yes. Then one life, clearing stage, and then one life Shuddhana, pure chanting. And maybe even more than that. Yes. So not so easy. I mean, Prabhupada, I feel Prabhupada tricks us. Prabhupada often said it's so easy, simply chant Hare Krishna, but even to simply chant Hare Krishna is a whole deep thing. I do like to conduct these holy name retreats. Every year I have one in Ekachakradam over Christmas. So if there's anybody here who wants to escape the Christmas madness, come to my group. I arrange everything, or are you in a special Christmas madness? Yes, I understand. But it's a very nice experience. I arrange everything. We stay 4 nights in Ekachakra in Lord Nityananda's birthplace. And we go in seclusion there, and I take my audience on a whole journey. And I've had Prabhupada disciples there who were sharing at the end. My God, I realize I haven't even started chanting Hare Krishna. I've done something else. I was just getting them done. Oh my God, yes, I had these feedbacks, So it sounds so easy, just chant 16 rounds, but we have to make sure we really chant the holy name and not the reflection, the semblance, but the real thing. Whole big topic. Any other point? Yes.
My question's about impressions that are taken into our subtle bodies. Are those impressions only taken from our human forms of life, or can those impressions be taken from other forms? So we've existed maybe as animals or as demigods, say.
You mean when we were in other forms, or when we simply had dealings with the other forms of life?
And when we were other forms of life, do we carry those impressions in our subtle body also? Yeah,
definitely. Because it's the same subtle body of mind, intelligence, false ego. And if we were in an animal species of life before, then, and we are now in a human form of life, there may be still some memory, some remembrance, some whatnot,
Thank you.
I mean, I haven't researched if this kid who was a cow in previous life if he has some special liking for, green leafy vegetables or something. I don't know. But who knows? Salad, herbs. Yes.
I have a question regarding the relationship that we may have had if they were interrupted by a sudden death of one of the partner or relative. We could not go through the whole cycle of this relation.
We could not go
through the whole cycle of this relation. You said that it is important to go through different steps, for example, as parents with kids and so on.
to get more complete to the stage of renunciation, I mean.
Yes, also,
yes. That, very, very commonly we have this when we emphasize our family attachments are so deep and strong and binding, then people say, okay, better not to go through it. So, but I was explaining that this is not the right conclusion. That most of us, we have to go through it to come to a more complete level of renunciation.
My question was, if one of the characters in this family died.
Yes. And
what happened? We cannot go through.
There's still attachment,
If
things to be
in
worked
the
out.
younger age, one of the...
So what happens to the younger age person who dies? Well, so then he didn't, get to this point of detachment, so take birth again, like Raghava, getting, let's say a child dies who is very naturally attached to the mother, so then the child will have some similar features maybe from himself and the mother and so on, and take birth maybe in a woman's body or something. Yeah. So it's binding us to take birth again.
I was also thinking of the one who are staying there, who are there.
Well, they also have to let go before it's their time to leave. So when my mother left 2.5 years ago, I'm quite happy now that I have hopefully the time to really let go of this. So I don't want to remember my mother at the moment of death, so I'm Krishna alone. So, yeah. So we have to let go, we have to work through these things and really, let them go. And, how big task? We don't want to remember on our deathbed and lament, I didn't see my granddaughter getting married. And then we may just have to come back to see that, how the granddaughter gets married. So I'm not sure if it's all worthwhile, But there is a couple of more things which I want to present. Namely that remembering Krishna is not actually in our control. So Krishna says that also, Savasya Vedisami Visto Matasmitikyanamapurnam. So Krishna explains in Bhagavad Gita, from me comes knowledge, remembrance and forgetfulness. So actually, ultimately Krishna has to appear on the level of our mind, out of his sweet will. We can't force ourselves into remembrance of Krishna. So that is a good point to have. But naturally, Krishna being a person, if we try our best to really dedicate ourselves to developing our loving relationship with him, so then he will respond. And in this regard, I also have a couple little stories. One from my humble self when I was a very new devotee, just 6 months joining in Australia. I had some little surgical thing I had to get done, and I was in full anesthesia, and I had heard already, yes, we should remember Krishna at the moment of death, so I thought, okay, let me take this as an opportunity to try and remember Krishna at that moment when I fall asleep. But I was shocked to realize when I woke up that I didn't remember Krishna at that moment. That was my first realization. Not so easy to remember Krishna. You know, if you can't even remember him at such a little incident where you have to get some little surgery done, nothing life-threatening or nothing. You know, what to speak of the moment when you kicked out of the body. So, obviously I was too young of a devotee and Krishna didn't appear on the level of my mind. But then I have another story of one Mataji in Ukraine before the war started. So she is a very serious, dedicated devotee, at least for 25 years she has been practicing. And one day she had a stroke and she was paralyzed on the right side, which means left side of the brain is damaged, which means remembrance and speech are lost. You may have heard a similar thing. Remembrance and speech completely wiped out. She couldn't remember anything. She couldn't remember her name, she couldn't remember a single word of her language, Russian she was speaking, nothing. It was all blank, completely. But brain has good function to recover. I used to treat these people as a physiotherapist. So, and it all came back. And then I asked her, what was it like? Not remembering even your own name and where you are, not a single word in your language. What was it like? And she gave an interesting answer. She said, yeah, it was a little bewildering, but there was one thing I remembered, the Maha Mantra. And I was simply chanting the holy name in my mind, and I knew everything would be okay. So from a medical point of view, this is a mystery. How can a person remember the whole Maha Mantra, but not their own name? Not a single word in their language. How can you explain that medically? No explanation. Obviously, it's Krishna. You know? Reassuring his dedicated devotee, you will be alright. Just chant. You know? Yeah. And there's a similar story also with one Prabhupada disciple, one lady called Isha, Mother Isha. She had the same thing, also stroke, right side paralyzed, left side brain damage, and speech and memory was lost. But because she was a little elderly, it didn't come back. It didn't come back. And all she remembered was the Maha Mantra, and she was singing it all day. And unfortunately, she ended up in a non-devotee nursing home because America, the culture is not there to take care of the elderly devotees and all that. Unfortunately, not yet. So she ended up in a non-devotee nursing home, and the whole day, through the whole establishment, she was singing Hare Krishna. And everybody knew her. Oh yeah, the lady who's doing the Hare Krishna chanting. Oh yeah, she is in room number 15 or whatever. And His Holiness Niranjana Swami knew her very well because she was in Boston and he joined in Boston and was the Bhakta there. And she was like the mother of the temple. And he was very upset that she ended up in a nursing home there with non-devotees. So one day he made the effort to go there and visit her. And he traveled for about 3-4 hours, somebody drove him there. And then to his initial great disappointment, she didn't recognize him. And he was saying, "Oh, Niranjan, remember? Oh, Niranjan, I was at Boston Temple." She didn't even see or recognize or nothing, So first he was a little disappointed, but then he shares this in the lecture. But then he was saying, actually whether she remembers me or not, it doesn't matter. Main thing is she remembers the Mahamantra. Yeah, so then he was pacified, just what could he do? He sooner or later left there again, didn't stay for very long. But yeah, so Krishna has his ways, and from a mundane point of view, we may be thinking, how terrible, she lost everything, remembrance and speech and whatnot, But no, from a spiritual point of view, it's Krishna's mercy. All kinds of nonsense, it's all wiped out, forgotten. All you remember is the Maha Mantra. So yeah, Krishna has his ways,
It's true that when we start our spiritual life, with the 16 rounds, it's a lot, and after all our life, along the life, we will have to change the 16 or more, at least. And we don't understand, but it's true that while the life is going on, we come near to this, we understand more the reason under this
obligation. Yeah, well, hopefully we do. Hopefully, yeah. And I mean, the chanting definitely is the way how to build that relationship, because Krishna and the Holy Men, they're non-different. So by chanting, we actually get the same benefit as directly, personally associating with Krishna. Yeah. If we do it mindfully, we have to deeply in the heart really turn to Krishna when we chant, feelingly call out to him, longing for the relationship. That's what builds the relationship, that kind of chanting. When you chant, longing for the relationship, Krishna, please accept me. Who are we to be so easily accepted by Krishna? So there has to be some intense longing there. Like Rupa Goswami says, lolyam, the longing, greed for Krishna, that's the main and foremost thing we need. If we have that greed for Krishna, everything else comes. And that greed for Krishna we express when we chant. Yeah. And very clearly, if we spend an hour, 2.5 hours, whatever we take to chant our japa, really trying to feelingly turn to Krishna, call out to him, longing for the relationship, naturally something will happen in the relationship, right? It becomes tangible reality, very clear. But if you just run around, do this, that, while we're chanting, and Krishna's not even in the picture, we can actually cut Krishna completely out of the picture in our so-called Krishna consciousness. It's possible. Yes. Because while we serve, we have to focus on our job. Alright, maybe some moments we say, oh Krishna, help, and whatever. But we have to focus. So the time when we chant, in japa or in kirtan, that's when we do something for the relationship. But very often, even when we chant, the mind goes all over the place. We take the chanting as a plan-making session, plan the next preaching program and the shopping list and and trip to India or whatever. So then obviously that kind of chanting will not do anything for the relationship actually. So it's all in the chanting. That's what builds the relationship. I did want to share something else, but I think I'll leave that for tomorrow because it's 7:45 and it's not enough time. But it's a very deep topic. I can tell you already what I wanted to share is that often people say, I'm not so afraid of dying, but I'm afraid of the pain coming along with that process of leaving, right? So I want to talk about that tomorrow morning, continue. I usually put it in the first session, but we left more time for interaction and talking and discussing, so we'll keep it for tomorrow. Okay, any other thoughts? Yes, Peter.
If I'm allowed, I just wanted to share one small experience. Yesterday, my friend Robert and I, we were watching the final pastimes of the Prabhupada, where he left his body, and so today's the seminar, it's like a special coincidence, and we were watching this in the morning, and it was so intense. It was very, very intense, and we were like feeling like there, and seeing Prabhupada going through this journey gave us much of gravity and inspiration, and I can just also inspire others to watch this. I saw it many times, also the devotees saw it, but to see it again, and I may be too personal, but I had the feeling now I don't want to eat, I don't want to do anything, I just want to go out and distribute books. So I was going out, and it was a special day, and it gave so much inspiration and the gift that Prabhupada gave us.
Very true. I mean, maybe I can also share, I've had cancer 2 times, and that was actually a very, very valuable experience, which I really would not want to miss. You get a few realizations when you're a little closer to the edge. And I also really experienced Prabhupada's gift, of this knowledge, what happens at death, and that we're eternal spirit soul, and so on, because I went through the whole thing 2 times of surgery, chemo, and so on. And you see how people are so bewildered and so, terrified, because they're so in ignorance. Yes, and they really think, death, that's it. I will not exist anymore. What a terrifying thought if you approach death like that everything will be finished and gone and you just dissolve into nothing, or I don't know what people think. But people are clinging to this chemo and really think they will be, eternally in this world if they just continue with the treatments, and oh my God, So I really appreciate it, what Prabhupada has given us. And when he left this world, he was really teaching, demonstrating to us and his disciples how to live in dignity. And he was saying, don't think this will never happen to you.
I heard Prabhu saying that after having looked this special video that myself I can hardly see. It's very touching so much. But after it gives you so much energy, I know, because you said or you wrote it, that yourself you had so much energy to preach also to the whole staff. It makes me think of that when you said that you liked to go to distribute books after. You had the energy. Mataji,
She heard the other sessions in New Mayapur when I was giving it there, and I say, no problem, no problem, no problem. Yeah, so I was sharing how, my treatments was a whole preaching adventure. And once in South India, Bangalore, when I was doing the chemo, I did a whole program there with about 100 doctors and nurses. Because when I first met my oncologist, I first gave him a half an hour talk about death. What's my attitude about death? And then he was saying, can you repeat this to my colleagues? And I said, sure, let's put a date, let's have a program. It was pretty amazing. So I do want to quickly bring your attention to these books here, because some of you may not have seen them yet. Because actually I have established an institute for spiritual culture. I have been preaching in Bangladesh for over 20 years, and I've learned so many things there. How our Vaishnava culture is actually meant to be naturally lived. And that really transformed my spiritual practice, my personal spiritual life, and also my humble preaching efforts. So, and I realized we actually need a little bit more education and training in how to live what Prabhupada has given us. So Prabhupada's books, they're like the law books for civilized humanity. That's what Prabhupada always said. But often the law books are rather complex. And we need, I feel we need a little bit of complementary literature to, make Prabhupada's teachings more practically accessible to people. How to actually live it. That's the real challenge. We're not quite there yet. We like to read, hopefully, and remember and quote, but are we actually living it? And that's what I'm trying to give here with these books. So I established this Institute for Spiritual Culture. I spend every year 3 months in Mayapur. That's like my base. It's the only place in the world where I spend more than 1 or 2, maximum 2 weeks. Otherwise, I'm constantly doing seminars and doing that. And in Mayapur, I'm teaching all different courses. And now I'm putting the courses in book form so it can reach more people, because not everybody can come to Mayapur and take 6 weeks of courses or something. So each book you see here is actually a 15-hour course, which I'm giving in Mayapur. And this little death topic is also part of a 15-hour course, actually, which is also there in book form. So let me just very briefly introduce you to these books, because I feel a great urgency for all of them to get them out into people's hands. So spiritual culture, Krishna's divine system. This is basically all about women. We women have a very powerful Shakti, we have a powerful energy. Our energy is much more powerful than male energy, Bhagavatam says. And we are meant to be the power of inspiration to the man and not compete with the man. But now, because man-woman equality, very easily the women compete with the man, and that weakens the man, actually. It's quite interesting to explore this, how Krishna's system is meant to function. And we will realize how far we are away from Krishna's system, and how this is the reason why we have so many social problems. Inside ISKCON, outside ISKCON. They're all reactions, global reactions for not following Krishna's system. So it's, of course, course, it is very much against the modern worldview, but well, Krishna consciousness altogether is against the modern worldview. You know, modern worldview is enjoy to the max, sex life is the best, and Krishna consciousness, we are, keeping it to the minimum. So yeah, very helpful also for marriage relationships. And in India, they use this book as a handbook for brahmacharya training. Actually, Pune and Chowpatty, they all have this in the brahmacharya ashram, yeah. So that the men also understand what is the role of women. We play such an important role. And if this is misunderstood and neglected, humanity goes down the drain, and that's what we are having, So it actually re-establishes the respect and honor a woman should be given, because she's meant to be the power of inspiration to the man. Very important. She's the backbone of human society. So this is what this is all about. Then we have sheltering relationships. This is all about the importance of having a mentor. That just having guru, not enough. Our gurus often have hundreds and thousands of disciples. They cannot possibly know each and every person's individual situation in life. So we need this well-wishing, more experienced friend who guides us on a more regular basis, who shows us how to move forward. And if we don't have that, very easily we stay in our comfort zone, and then we become stagnant. And then we may come every Sunday to the Sunday feast, and we may even do a bit of service and clean the floor or serve out prasadam, but nothing really transforms and changes. Changes. And also a mentor we should want to be corrected by. So there should be at least one person in our life who we want to be corrected. Yeah, so this is what this book is all about. Then we have the false ego, our constant companion and troublemaker. So subtle. Usually we miss it. We don't even identify it. That's how subtle it is. And I give very practical steps how to recognize it, how to subdue it. Like when we get offended, what is it? False ego, crying for justice. That's what it is. When we can't forgive and let go, it's false ego, hanging on to, oh my goodness, even family life can be a battlefield of false egos, who is right, who is wrong, and. So yeah, very helpful. And there's a whole chapter on chanting the holy name in Japa and in Kirtan. The whole thing of Dasya, Sakya, Vatsanya, Madhurya, and so many more things, and turning to Krishna, feeling we call out, and then like a summary of the holy name retreat is, and then if you can't come, take a chakra. Then we have entering the Grihastha. This is a handbook for matchmaking. How to see that a man and a woman are compatible for marriage. There's a whole thing in it. There's a whole list of over 200 topics which we should discuss with a cool head, without pink glasses on. That's why I made it pink. Because our pink glasses, we're all in love, and we can't see what we get ourselves into. And then after a couple of years, pink glasses wear off, their luck is up, wie wir in Deutsch sagen. And then we realize, it doesn't match. Why didn't I marry this person? Our divorce rate is so high, and it is connected with bad matchmaking. People just often don't match. Often they come to me with their marriage problems, and I'm wondering, why are you even together? You don't even fit. And then we're facing so many issues there. Good for people who are not married yet, or for people who want to help others. This matchmaking I consider as one of the most important aspects of devotee care to help people settle in compatible marriages. Oh, it creates so much disturbance if we don't get that help. So it's a handbook for matchmaking. If you read this, you can serve as a matchmaker to others, to your children or friends or whatever. Then we have family life as an ashram, secrets of success. How to create this culture of bhakti in the home. We need some training in this. Many devotees' home life, you cannot really call it a suitable place for cultivating bhakti. It's not an ashram. That's what an ashram is, a suitable place for cultivating bhakti. So it's like a handbook for successful family life in Krishna consciousness. So many things are in there. Oh, mood and attitude of husband and wife, your source of income, how to choose your residence, and so many things. And there's a whole chapter on physical intimacy in marriage, how to live this principle of no illicit sex life in marriage. There is a bit of confusion over this, and I did some research and I came across interesting episodes with Prabhupada, where he says things which are not in the Bhagavatam. Yes. And they add a whole different perspective to the topic. If we don't understand this in a mature way, again, it leads to divorce. Yes. And so many other things. That people satisfy their needs outside of marriage, with watching things which we shouldn't be watching. Now we've got it all on the phone. Big problem in ISKCON and outside ISKCON. So I hope this will make our family life more balanced and emotionally healthy and yet more Krishna conscious. And last but not least, the Vanaprastha ashram, meeting death with joy. So, well, let me share. So tomorrow the session after lunch will be some little introduction into the Vanaprastha ashram. I usually don't like to even announce it because it scares people off. Because people don't know what it is. It's not so fearful. It's simply a serious way to prepare that we can remember Krishna alone. Yes, husband and wife don't have to separate. They can do it together. Husband doesn't put on saffron and walks out. People have all these misconceptions what this Vanaprastha ashram is. And it's basically not established in ISKCON. I call it the forgotten ashram. Yes. This is my point, even though the Bhagavatam is full of very clear statements that Vanaprastha is a must to remember Krishna alone. But yet, where is it? It's not established. So that's what I mean. We need some complementary literature to understand the law books. And that's what I'm trying to give. There's so many statements, but because they're spread out over 12 cantos, we often miss them. So I'm taking them on, putting them in systematic order, unpack them, and explain them, and give examples, and. And then it becomes all really clear. Wow, yes. I make this joke because Prabhupada says when we're 50, we should accept Vanaprastha. So I make this joke and say, now ISKCON is 50. Now it's about time that we get some understanding of what this Vanaprastha is all about. So in the book there's several sections, a whole big chapter on death, so much more than what we can discuss here. But then there's a whole chapter on Vanaprastha, and I want to give a little bit of an insight into tomorrow's after lunch session. So tomorrow we have 11 to 1. There I want to mainly focus on how to accompany other people, even if they're not devotees, how to support them, what's helpful, what's not helpful for a person to let go and move out. And then, yeah, in the afternoon session, just a little understanding of what this manifesto is. You know. Even brahmacharis should know this. You have to preach it. You know. Yeah, somebody has to preach it. All right. So if anybody would like to get some books, yeah, you can just come up and get them. So of course the price people ask, well, let me say 15 francs per book is like the minimum donation. Many have given me already 20 or something, and in Switzerland 15 francs is not that much. But yeah, I'll be happy with 15 francs per book. Many people get the whole set. They're all good topics. You know? Yeah, so if you want to get some books, it will be a great honor and pleasure to put them in your hands. And otherwise, please come back tomorrow at 11 o'clock. You know, 11 to 1, and then we can take lunch. So you don't have to worry about what to eat for lunch tomorrow. We specially planned it like that. And even if you can't come in the morning, well, come at 1 o'clock for lunch and take the afternoon session. Yeah, yes, like that. So that always makes it more attractive if there's a good meal in between. You know. Okay, thank you so much for your kind attention. Srila Prabhupada ki
Jai.
Gaura Prema.
Hari Bo.
Can I add that I don't know you since such a long time.
No, we only met
Yes.
a few weeks ago in Himalaya.
I listened to your videos since 2 years, and I have to say that I'm a devotee. I'm trying to be a devotee since 50 years, but
She's a disciple of Prabhupada. Those you don't know.
But only since 2 years, I feel that I missed something before. Before I discovered this way to present things, and I have also to say that Mataji has filled her books with full of Prabhupada quotas.
Yeah, it's all based on
Verses
Prabhupada.
or purpose.
Yes.
So it's nothing has been invented.
Very true. Yeah, I mean, often my editors give me this feedback, too many quotes on Prabhupada. And if they're repetitive, then sometimes I take one out. But I truly feel there's no point in writing anything if it is not based on what Prabhupada is saying. Yeah.